This is Morten from INKISH. I have the pleasure today to talk to Marco Boer from IT Strategies in the US. And Marco has been on INKISH before, actually a couple of times, I would say. And I'm so glad to see you again, Marco. So how are you?
Me too. Things are great. It's nice to have a little bit of summer left.
And you're of course based in America. Do you have any vacation, or is it that for the few?
Oh no, I'm American. We only work. We don't take vacation. No, I'm just teasing. No, the Dutch weather is still, very much alive. So yes, I'm just about to go on vacation. So.
Okay, fantastic. Marco, the reason why I reach out to you for this little chat is because one of the, in my opinion, quite interesting things takes place in America in October. That's the Printing United Expo, and when I asked Amanda from Printing United who to talk to, she said I should talk to you. And actually, I know that you are all over the place globally, and I have followed you, so I know that you have been traveling and also participating at trade shows virtually. Have you any idea why you are becoming an ambassador for a show like Printing United?
Oh my, I think that's a bold claim. I am an ambassador for the print industry, but not for any individual company or trade show. I am, however, very excited about Printing United for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's been 3 years since we last had a really big trade show around the world. And so this will be the first one in many years. We're really bereft of format to interact. And the reason why these trade shows are so important is of course, it's an ability to commiserate and catch up with old friends. But more importantly, it's a vehicle for us to come up with new ideas. I always joke in my speeches that in our industry, right, we're focused on R&D, which stands for not research and development, but it really stands for rip off and duplicate. So you want to go to a trade show to come up with new ideas, because we're all looking for net new revenue. What can I possibly do that I'm not doing today that might be very interesting? And that's really the power of these trade shows. So individual, user groups are fantastic, but you're limited to whatever the offerings are within that community. Whereas this is a truly, global effort, to be honest. And I personally believe this is a bellwether, and some people might disagree with me, but if Printing United goes off as well as we think it is, then that bodes really well for DRUPA 2024. So I understand that the show is sold out from an exhibitor perspective. There's lots of new things that are going to be announced there, very exciting things. But of course, the big question is, are people going to show up, right? Because we need attendees to show up to really make it alive and vibrant, or else the sponsors won't do it again the next round, right? So I think, part of the benefit of Printing United Alliance, right, the parent company, is they've got this ginormous database of names tied to all their publications that is active. So unlike something like a DRUPA, which hasn't been held by the time it gets held in 2024 for almost 8 years, I don't think they have the same kind of interactive database of usernames that are Printing United.
And they under all circumstances probably don't have that engagement, because as a member-driven organization like Printing United Alliance, of course they serve the industry. And one of the interviews I did with you and David Swang was about taxonomy, and we have been talking at EFI Connect, and we have been talking at numerous times, of course, about different things. One thing I can't help think about you when you talk about one of the advantages of going to Printing United, and I agree with you with everything you said, but I always have to be the devil's advocate, So I was just wondering, because I remember one of the first times I met you, I was so jealous of you, because basically you said to me that your job was basically to be involved with technology like like generations before it actually hits the market. So is that when you get to Printing United, is that where you see something that started out as a piece of paper and now you, after maybe 5-10 years, see it realized, or does that also bring something to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So I can't say anything yet, but there'll be one very significant product that will be the basis for the next decade for this particular vendor. And you know, the original concept that we helped to develop years ago, goes back probably 7 years or more, looks very different now, and all in the right ways. And it's come out much better than I would have ever imagined, and it's really neat. So yes,
you're so unfair now, Marco, because now with that pitch, I think that everybody who watches this needs to go to Printing United to see that platform you're talking about, which you of course cannot talk about in public, right?
Not yet, but I'm not overselling. Truly, it is.
Okay, you're not overselling.
It's a critical technology and a critical platform really for the next decade for many of us in the commercial industry. So that maybe shows one of the reasons why, because I also remember when I spoke to Mark Supers, because I think that some people have been thinking that whether I was too critical to the future of the trade shows, because I've not just my opinions but also tried to raise the voice from different people. And he said to me, and I actually like this approach, he said that, well, when you look at the selling cycles of technology, especially the newer one, the more expensive one, it actually takes a long time from you get the order till you see that, from you seeing the product till it get signed off to it's actually delivered. So now maybe the pipeline needs to be filled up again. Does that concur also to some of the things that how you think about the value of trade shows? Yes, but I would differ a little bit in that is our technology development cycles are getting longer, not shorter.
Yeah.
Because we're pretty good at print quality, right? So the whole debate about is it equal to offset, we're way past that. That's not the issue. It's more about, can I hit the levels of productivity that I really want to hit for my next generation? And can I print on an ever expanding range of substrates and have the ink perform as desired, right? Is it going to stick to that substrate? Is it abrasion resistant? Is it light fast, right? All of these other issues become far more complicated because as the technology matures, we've gotten 90% of the way there. It's the last 10% that's going to kill us. And so the cycles are indeed getting longer. But anyway, coming back to Printing United, I think it will be a great show, and it is a bellwether for how DRUPA will do, I think. And they'll figure out how to draw attendees, right? Because DRUPA is truly a global show. Well, it's mostly Germanic, but it's got a lot of international visitors. And by the time we get to 2024, I think all of the Asian travel issues will also have resolved itself. So that show does matter. But of course, we're here now. And so Printing United is it. My big concern with Printing United was, are we going to get people to travel there? Because, traveling these days, whether it's in the US or Europe, it's pretty darn awful, right? The flight delays, the lost bag,
but that's true.
It's
just a little bit delay here. Yeah.
Sorry, that may be at my end.
I was just thinking that because I was just thinking because I was in the US last week, and I was actually a little bit surprised because all the planes were like really, really full, and as you mentioned, the airports are still terrible to get through. So, the availability of seats are probably not on the same level as before the COVID yet. But on the other hand, I still think the competition gives you a relatively inexpensive flight fares, so you can fly to Vegas for not too much money, basically, right? I have a question because some of the webinars or presentations I have seen you giving during the past maybe 6 months, of course, it's been about also the paper supply chain issues and the labor shortage and all those kinds of things. We see globally we see a high inflation right now, and a lot of people are thinking that we are heading towards a recession, and for the people that don't know, that's defined by decreasing GDP in 2 consecutive quarters, right? But I was just thinking, normally we as consumers see recession as something really bad, but from an innovation perspective, that is not too bad actually, because that's where we need to develop in order to get out of the recession. So is that where we have kind of, because COVID it was not a recession in the typically financial way, but because the COVID made a lot of changes in how we consume, it maybe pushed things a little bit. Do you reckon anything I'm saying?
So what you're really getting at the end of it all is that we need to automate more. We just cannot have that many human touch points left in our industry because nobody will pay for it. And so I can tell you from a product engineering development perspective, the number one focus is how do we out-engineer the problems? How do we design printing systems that we can install much faster? How do we come up with systems that don't just have predictive analytics on maintenance, but how do we create things that are more self-healing? How do we create sub-assemblies that are user replaceable rather than having a break-fix service tech come and replace? So the more, hands-off we can make these devices, the better off as an industry will become. And there's lots of interesting technology that's been available for years. So for example, one of the coolest technologies I've seen is a listening device that can listen how each individual nozzle is firing. And based upon the pattern, you can actually predict which nozzle is going to fail when. So that technology has been around for some time. The problem is, in order to build that into the system, it's going to add another, let's say, 5% to the cost of the hardware. Well, because we're in a super competitive market, nobody wanted to pay an extra 5%, right, to have more of that predictive analytics. Well, guess what? Because of COVID and the complete reset on supply chain and labor issues and all of these other things, we're now reaching a stage where I think the print providers are willing to pay an additional 5%, maybe 10%, to have much better uptime, more reliability, less human interaction. So the development path is actually changing quite a bit as a result of that.
But that also, I mean, when you talk about self-healing devices and more self-service on the machine, doesn't that also to some extent requires a change in how vendors make money? Because I mean, service and that kind of infrastructure has been for some vendors a lucrative business, right?
Well, what you're really thinking of is what I would call the legacy copier model, right? Where the biggest asset you had was the ability to send a technician.
Okay, you got me. You got me.
Right?
You got me.
Whereas, today, maybe that becomes a liability because guess what? You can't hire enough copier repair guys, right? Because people's lifestyles have changed and their interests have changed.
But Marco, I was actually in the positive about this thing. But I was just thinking that if you have like a big vendor that has already have a service organization, it is a big change because it will change that how the revenue basically split. I mean, a lot of people been talking for ages that we have like kind of a Gillette model where you deliver the engine for a lower price and then you make it up on the consumables. I'm just saying that a lot of things in these times are really changing, and I was just wondering if that self-healing and self-service was part of a bigger change, because one of the things I have predicted, and I don't have the data to back it as you have, but I've been thinking when I see people that may be the future of print and services also that you have way longer relationships with the vendors because you have a longer lease because it's more expensive, but it's also because you iterate the same machine. So as you mentioned before, that new thing that you can't talk about, it's a platform. And if it's a platform, it to me sounds like you can build upon it.
So what you're really talking about is business model changes. And these business model changes are going to be painful because any business model change is not simple. So you're right. How the vendors make their money is going to change, right? And their cost structure has to change correspondingly with it. It's not going to be simple.
It would be exciting, actually.
By the way, here's a little unintended consequence, right? So now we've got predictive analytics. So my printer tells me I'm going to need to replace this part. The vendor automatically triggers in their system a purchase order to send you that part. So the part arrives in my shop. However, the technician who has to install it is not available for 2 weeks because it's not a imminent failure. It's going to fail in the next 2 weeks, but we don't know when, but it's not going to fail tomorrow kind of thing. So we're too busy. So we're not going to send out the tech until 2 weeks. So now, meanwhile, me as a print provider, I'm looking over my shoulder every day going, oh my God, is this thing going to fail today? Am I going to be down? So managing those relationships also become really interesting.
Your role as a, you know so many things, and you are always so open to tell and share your things. If I will be in Las Vegas and I will be at Printing United, is there a chance to meet you guys and have some information? Do you give any speeches there, or what is your plan there, or you're just browsing around the aisles?
Oh, I'd love to be just browsing, but I will be there for starting on the Tuesday through the Friday, and I'll give a few speeches, I'm sure. But no, I'd love to meet up. I'll show you around, and I'll show you this great new device. Give you the inside scoop.
Yeah, and I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. But okay, so we have a deal that you will give me and my team a personal view into the future, which is when happening
Absolutely.
at Printing United. Is that a deal?
Yep.
Fantastic. Last thing, Marco. I was just thinking that for those who are for those who will not go to Printing United, how can we convince them? Because basically, you have given a lot of good arguments. Because it cannot be only the flight tickets, it cannot be only the hotels. How should we market this? Because I want more to come.
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I think the flight issue is, as you say, probably not going to be an issue, because in the end, if I'm hungry to learn about new ideas, one of the best places to do that is in person. So I think people are going to budget accordingly and build in the expectation that travel is going to be a pain, but we're going to get there, right? And there's a flight from any city in the U.S. basically to Vegas. It's very welcome.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I think we're all. But how do we get them there, right? So how you get
that's why I'm asking you.
It is
annoying.
You'll see some dribs and drabs of new product announcements come out before Printing United, so it's not like the day of that they're going to make an announcement. People are going to be, basically teasing up. Here's what we're going to show, and this is why you need to come and see it. The other thing is, I think Printing United Alliance is doing a really good job calling people. And these are not robot calls, right? They're live people that are saying, hey, we noticed you attended in 2018. We haven't heard from you. Can we help you figure out how to attend this show, right? And we'll give you a free pass to come in. And so they're doing a really good job in just the little details. So I think people are either going to come or not going to come, but I think they will. This is a show that will draw, my guess is somewhere around 30,000 attendees. Back in the day, a DRUPA would draw, I think, several hundreds of thousands. So it's on a different scale.
Different size, different show. Yeah.
Right. But I think in terms of the expectations of success, they'll meet and exceed it.
You are almost an American. I think you probably have American citizenship, but I know that you're European roots as well. Marco, is Vegas a good place to come for like a show? Not those kind of shows, but this kind of show. And we're not talking about Amsterdam here, right?
So look, Vegas is easy to get to. That's the good news. There's plenty of hotels at every single level of price point, so that's good, and it's pretty walkable in the scheme of things, at least for Europeans, right? So they can walk a kilometer or two, and it's not a problem. So it's a very convenient location. Now, whether or not Las Vegas is your cup of tea, that's a personal discretion thing. But I think, if you've never been to a place like Las Vegas, it's eye-opening. And as I sometimes
it's
tell
an experience.
They're once in a lifetime experiences, meaning it's either so special that you can never replicate it, or frankly, I've done it and I never want to go again. So it's a once in a lifetime experience.
So as we have been talking about that there's vacancies in all price ranges, there's also room for whatever kind of output you have, that you will get some kind of experience to take home from Printing United in Las Vegas. Marco Boer, I know that you have a flight in a few hours' time, so I just want to thank you very much for spending these 20 minutes with me. I said 10 minutes, but both of us talks a lot too much, but I talk too much. You are very interesting listening to. So thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you, Morten. See you in Vegas. All right. Cheers.
Definitely.